Hello and welcome to In the Light Growing Your Soul with me, Anna Isabel. And my guest today is Akash Skye. Hello, Akash.
Hi Anna, thanks you for having me on my show. This show is so exciting. It's really lovely to be here with you today.
Oh, I'm glad you think it's exciting because we talk about so many different aspects of spirituality. And so your book um, caught my eye, which is introducing you to your own perfection. Quite a title. What inspired you to write it?
You know, there's this question that just sits within all of us, and it comes to the surface um, when it's your time, and that question was who am I? You know, that question, it's oh gosh, when that question needs to be answered within you, it just it's every single moment of the day that you just need to have that answer. And that's really what introducing you to imperfection is. It's a deep rooted, um you could say, well, it's a book, but it's a it goes deep insights into our mind. And it looks at it through all the different types of um, self-realization ways, such as Advaita Vedanta, A Course in Miracles, and also from the Bhagavad Gita, and we go in depth into that, and we uncover what that treasure within all of us, and it's there. It's an enlightenment, as you would know.
I really like the fact that you are bringing in different spiritual traditions. So there's Christianity and there's Hinduism. I really appreciate the way that it's not one or the other or another, that there is an appreciation and something to be learned from different traditions.
That's very true. It feels as though there are many methods to that truth, and what actually happens is we all have unique identities, and our unique identity is unraveled to the one truth. And you could say there's 7 billion people in the world, and they're all being slowly unraveled back to the one truth. Um, and we that the mind of the individual is, it's very specific, and it likes to use symbols. And so each mind has a preference on symbols. And my mind, it's a Hindu. There was a growing up around Jesus. My mum insisted on going um, to a church school. And so for me, Jesus was a normal symbol to use. It was very comfortable when you study A Course in Miracles to have Jesus there as the symbol, as the guru who's going to walk you through that. And then later on in life, as I got older, actually my dad passed away when I was 30. And so there felt like this missing, something was missing, a fatherly figure. Although I had some in my life, but there's something that you I just wanted, for a long, forever, an everlasting one, and that's when, for me, it's the Hinduism. It's Guruji, who's the reincarnation of Lord Shiva, that I use because I've got my character Akash, the individualized self personality, it is a Hindu, and so it's very familiar with that. And of course we all have different um symbols to use, depending on our self personality, our self image. And it's incredible how that one mind unravels individually all the way back to the one truth. It uses what we've made to go back home. It's truly incredible, you know.
You know, just listening to you, it's made me smile because as regular viewers of this program will know, I'm also an astrologer. And only last week, I was giving a talk entitled Water and the Thirst for Oneness. And the subject is how the signs of the zodiac, the progression from Aries to Pisces, is all about the return to the one. And so this is, it's encoded in, I think, pretty much universally in our traditions. And it's a very important part of our shared history and humanity. So one of your chapters is about the separation from God. And I think it makes me think of the dichotomy that exists between the various spiritual languages which we use and the language of materialist science. And it's not all science, but it's specifically materialist science, which is currently presenting itself as a religion in its own right, from the point of view of the intolerance of anything that doesn't fit into that model of thinking. So what in your mind do you feel is this separation from God? What causes it?
So the separation from God is really a belief. Okay, it's a core belief within our mind. Now let's go into the mind. You know, the mind. It appears here that we all have different minds. That there's a mind for me, there's a mind for you, and there's 7-8 billion minds that are all different, right? And they're all encased into bodies. Right? That's the way that we've made this look like. But actually, if you were to take away the borders that make up each mind, and then borders are unique perception and filtered thoughts that make us into an individual. If you was to remove them, which can be done, as we know traditionally, through self-realization methods, is dissolving the I. If you was to remove that, you would see there will be no place where one mind begins and another mind ends. So there's actually one universal mind, but there's an appearance of 8 billion different minds, you know. Now this is what is quite funny, because actually when we talk about the separation from God, we appear separate from God when we believe that we are the individual mind, you know. And as we dissolve that slowly, we are in the one. We're like, it's like a river that joins the ocean, and there's no borders anymore, you know. And so the separation from God is just a belief, and if you really believe that you are, then you will be encased into that border, and you will really believe that you are separate from God, and that the deeper you go into that, the more and more you feel separate from not just God, everything, you know. And we've done that, you know. I mean, I grew up like that. Most people do, you know, that they believe they are that individual, that they believe they're the individual river, you know, and they don't even challenge the borders that make you what you think you are. And so you just go through the norms of life. But every now and then there's the moment, actually, in fact, coming out of it now, every moment actually is a calling of coming back, come back to love, come back to all-encompassing love, come back to the ocean. You know, that, and it happens actually at all pain points. All the pain points are a call for love, or they are they're called for love, or they are and a way to express love. So you have two options really, and but it's all around love ultimately. And the separation from God is that belief that we're separate from that which is all. And I mean, there's a lot more to it, isn't there? You could talk about this because it's just self-personality, and every one of us have our own self-personality. It's so unique, you know. So because there's so many different variations, choices, attributes that you can choose from, religion, gender, body shape, um, styles. You go on and on in order to make you an individual, and it's just untying that and unraveling all the knots and just opening up into what that belief that is untrue. We're not separate from source. Yeah.
So here's the tricky part. Now, I'm also an analytical hypnotherapist, and very often my clients don't have a strong enough sense of boundaries. So, and they're unsure of their uniqueness and the importance of that uniqueness and that individuality. So we need to have a healthy sense of that, but also remember that we are part of something bigger. So how do we go about making sure that we're here for a reason, and we have this body and this personality and this history for a reason? How do we manage to juggle that whilst maintaining our sense of oneness with each other and with the divine?
So this balance is it really depends on what you want from life. Okay. So for me, I've come to the stage where I I don't really desire to want to manifest things into my life. I don't really desire to to um to 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 want to be this individual. Yeah. But that doesn't mean you just stop. I've got a very normal life. I've got two children, a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old. I've got my wife, I've got a home, got two careers, spiritual career, finance career. Everything is very normal. I'm still in my 30s. So there is a balance because in truth, I really just want to awaken into God. That's the truth, and that's because, you know, on this journey, we've had many lives, and we've done lots of different things, and we've experienced many different ways to be an individual, but it just comes to a point where, you you've just had enough of that. You just want to be with your creator. You just want to be with source, you know and and we know from many different type of texts, and also I know from my experience that this is a very dreamlike state here. It's constantly moving, constantly changing. There's no permanence to what happens here in relativity. And in knowing that as well, it takes you inside to want to go to what is always permanent within. And so to find that balance for me, it's actually surrender, and it's surrendering to something that is beyond Akash. So Akash is my individual self personality. and it's surrendering my day-to-day activities, my existence, to something that reminds me of what I really am beyond Akash, and gives me a love which I have made for myself unrecognizable. Yeah, so I've made that unrecognizable because I have chosen individual love to be special love, but now I'm choosing all-encompassing love. And so that teacher teaches me unification in everything that I do. And yeah.
So you use the word desire, and that's another tricky one because what are we talking about here? What do we mean by desire? Do we mean the desire for material things? Do we, because I think a lot of people struggle with that, but that's a kind of easier concept to get your head around. But desire is also about hopes and dreams. So when we talk about surrendering and relinquishing desire, that seems like a tall order for the average person.
Yeah, and actually, this word desire is actually something which sits rootly in all of us. Yeah. So actually, what we're doing is we're giving the idea of desire over to something which knows what desire is and what the source of desire is. Okay. So what that means is when you give your idea of desire over to that, it teaches you that what you desire isn't really what you want, because actually what you want is not of your little desires. Actually, what you want is to be what you are, which is no desires, desireless. And that's really what we're doing here. It's a process of being taught that what you desire isn't really what you want, and it's opening up to that, you know. And actually what you do is you give over all your desires, but you don't give it up in a way of renunciation, because what you renunciate, you still desire indirectly. You still want it. What you're saying is you're just literally saying, I don't know everything about this, but you know everything about this. And because you know everything about this, I trust in you. And so I give the idea of this to you to show me what is the truth here. And it teaches you what you are, which actually is desireless, because what does everything need, you know?
It's really important that we get our heads around this because when I think about the work that I do with my clients, what it always boils down to is the need to feel loved and validated. So much of what we're chasing in life is either a compensation for or a means of getting that feeling of being loved and validated. Whether it's people buying expensive clothes because they want to be admired, they want to be noticed. That is a form, it comes down to that need to be validated, that need to be loved. And so I think what we're saying is that if we understand that we are love, loved, and lovable, the desire for everything disappears because there's no need to prove anything.
And also, what would teach you to remember what you are? To remember what would teach love that they are love, except the memory of love? And the memory of love has many names. You could call it the Holy Spirit, you could call it Vaheguru, you could call it the higher self. the awakened mind. It has many different names, you know, but that is the memory of love. It's the memory of what we are. And it teaches you that through what you recognize as symbols, because that's back to the symbols, you know. And it actually, I mean, with the Course in Miracles, you know, studied the Course in Miracles, I live a Course in Miracles. Basically, with that, it talks about the separation. Firstly, it says is we believed that we could be that we believed in lack, and then the belief in lack was we could fill it with our own ideas, and the own ideas is a way to fulfill a lack that isn't actually there. And so when we fill it with ideas, it's what you're describing. You know, it's body shapes, um, it's being liked by people, it's job, career successes, ambitions. You know, it's having a large family, trying to fulfill it through that. In fact, the whole world is doing it. And you look out there, that's what we're all doing. You know, where we've taken everything, believed in lack, and we fill it with our own ideas. You know, and 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 actually, it's taking them back. It's taking away these ideas one by one by one to becoming empty again. You know, empty of concepts and full of yourself.
The idea of lack is interesting because, of course, what it makes me think of is the idea of illusion. So the illusion being that there is a lack, and that in fact there is only abundance. It is the opposite.
Yes, that's very true. It is an illusion. It's an illusion that we are less than what we are. It's a great illusion, to be honest with you. You know, many of us we have lives. We've had many lives believing in that illusion. You know, but there comes a point when we just feel there's something up here doesn't quite work. You know, you start questioning things. You question reality. And again, you go back to that point, that question, who am I? It all comes into that, you know. And as we go through self-discovery, self-investigation, and self-inquiry, we get to the point of, yeah, that's what we are. We are beyond anything that is changing. Yeah.
And so there it is. The grand illusion is that we are less than we actually are. And from that stems so much pain and suffering. So we need to be reminded of who we are, and that when we have that knowledge, that understanding, then we become all powerful.
Well, actually, yes. I mean, power. We don't talk about power in the sense of the ego's power, you know.
That's
we
not
we
what.
we we mean power from the sense of it's all coming from you. Everything is coming from you. So it's a sense of gentleness, you know. It's a sense of I can have that, I can have that, but actually I don't need it. You know, you said need, you don't need it, and you don't need it, you know, because you just realize that actually everything here is just coming from you, which means it there was a point in when time was created where we didn't believe in it, and so it's been projected outwards in time, and we are just walking through that in a linear time viewpoint. So as the trees are outside, they appear to be separate from me, and they're not with me. The grass on the floor looks like it's not with me. Flowers, the birds, they all appear like they're not with me. It's the grand illusion, because if you go into that, and you go into the molecular structure, and lower than that, you go into the lowest form of it, which is what we would call energy. And even into that, you would see it's the child of God particles in all of it, which is what we all are. And you can never be separate from it. It's just because you can't, it's beyond your five senses. And to also, it's a beautiful journey, because actually you're going beyond anything that you can imagine. Before, you can't see it, you can't hear it, can't taste it, but there's something in you that's burning brightly, telling you, this is me, this is all me. And then that's a life. That's why life becomes exciting. And although there is the oneness, where we awaken into God, and it's the end of the universe, and it's the end of relativity, and it's the end of all separation occurrences. There's a lovely timelessness to it all, that actually it's beautiful, because actually it's actually only me here. Me in the sense of one mind. One beautiful mind that was lost, created its own kingdom away from the kingdom, but actually is ready to go back to the kingdom, awaken back into the kingdom. It's an amazing journey. And I mean, for me to do it in the 30s is actually quite exciting. I would have thought this would come to me later in age, but also with small babies, 1 and 3 years old, it's even more exciting, because every day I get to live that timelessness with them. You feel it with them, and everyone around you. It's beautiful.
And so, well, I think this is a good point at which to remind everyone that the book we are discussing is introducing you to
Oh yeah,
your
I think I've got
perfection.
it. I think I've got it here, actually.
And there it is. Well, I think that that thought about the perfection of what is a lovely point to end on. Akash, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah,
Thank
thanks a lot.
And thank you all for watching. Now, next time, we're going to be talking about rekindling spirituality. Until then, goodbye.